Good afternoon and welcome to the town hall meeting to discuss not only Brad's vision for TV6, but all of our vision of where we think we want to see our greatest asset tomorrow and into the future. Before we introduce Brad and he begins his presentation, I should tell you that there are two things I want you to know. First, not only are you involved in the questions, but over the past week, people have been contacting staff via the internet and the telephone. And they've been asking their questions and sharing their visions. And Juanita and Joan and Heather have been collecting the questions, and they will be part of the Q&A session that, in addition to your questions, that Brad will be replying to during his presentation. The second thing I wanted to tell you about is I'm Joanne DiLorenzo, and I'm chair of the JRF Media and Communications Committee, which is a huge committee, and it covers almost every aspect that touches our lives in the community. I think television is our most watched or most used asset, and therefore the television station is really important. But today, if you try to compete television, internet, hard to know because they're both so competitive. And that's all included in this. And Brad has a lot of questions and has brought in a lot of staff who can maybe help answer the questions so that we all understand better. We have, and we're pretty unique in this world, we have our own television station which has its own staff, its own equipment, and its own facility. That is an incredible asset for us. And what we're here today is discuss where we would like our staff, and I see Paul Ortiz in the audience, where we would like our staff to take us on our adventure through television land and also broadband land. And who better than to lead the parade than our now one-year-old CEO, Brad Hudson. Today is...
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Actually, Joanne's right. This is to the day 1 year, right? Yes. Yes, January 26, 16 was my first day on the job, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I know so many of you in the audience, and I really appreciate you coming down tonight. How many of you were at the video club the other night and saw that presentation? Quite a few, quite a few. Well, I've refined this a little bit and cleaned up my language for TV, and so we are ready to go. So I'm just going to jump right into it. If I could have the slide. Channel 6 is 50 years old, and it has basically remained essentially the same during that time. It has served the community with news, events, entertainment, biggest thing being really covering your governance and board meetings. And so go on the next slide. So about a couple months ago, we sent out a survey. How many of you answered that survey of whether you watch it, what do you like, what don't you like? And we got a pretty big community response from that, and it wasn't necessarily positive. Nearly 72% of residents say they don't watch it. Don't like it, don't watch it, and they told us why. So let's move on to that. So I want to look at that. So we asked, why do you not watch Channel 6? It's your local channel. It's got people you know, your community leaders, and essentially the programming. They don't like the programming. Going to the next. And they don't like the programming. They don't like the TV quality, and too many commercials. Those were the top three right there. And so with respect to quality, I think we resolved that issue. We've gone HD now. We're adding a new antenna to increase reception, improve the reception, and I think you're going to see, and if you haven't already, it's very dramatically different. If you go to 6.1 or 406, it's a very clear, bright, engaging channel. So I think those issues have been resolved. So the other question was, well, gee whiz, too many of us have analog. If you go digital, it's going to hurt part of the community. And so we asked that question too, whether people, are you digital or are you analog? And You can see the response here. 84% said they're digital. 12% didn't know. I'm assuming they're analog. I'm not sure. And 4 knew they were analog. So certainly no more than 16% of our residents are analog. So I think that's a fairly small number and one that's diminishing every day. So I think it is with relative certainty that this is going to be a digital station and that we're going to have digital programming and that that's going to be a benefit to the vast majority of our residents here. So what do people like? Well, first thing, in order to like it, you would have had to watch it. So we're talking about only 29% of our residents. And what do they like to watch? Board meetings, movies, Trading Post, This Day. Those are really the big ones, but by and large, movies and board meetings are the very most popular thing on TV6. So we asked regular viewers, what would you like to see less of? Boy, we can answer that one, huh? Infomercials. Number one answer. 78% of regular viewers, of that 29%, said knock off the infomercials. It's too much. Classic TV shows, club shows. They'd like to see less club shows. I thought that was interesting. So those were the top 3 answers. So here we asked both those who watch TV6 and those who don't watch TV6, what do you want? Straight up. And they made it pretty clear. They want community news, movies, music and entertainment, health and fitness, South County news. Very clear. And quite frankly, the movies and the community news were well above everything else. So I think, we're saying, let's give the community what they want and take the stuff off that they don't want. Pretty simple, huh? Unless you're one of the persons that has interest in the thing that no one wants anymore. See, there's the catch. So what do we need to do here to make this an exciting, relevant channel that's engaging to our community, that informs, that entertains, and pulls the community together? And so these are the kind of 7 strategic steps that we've identified. And I won't read them off right now because I think I'm going to go into each one of them one at a time. So let's start off here. First, a new name. TV6 has no relevance in today's market. There's no numbers anymore. Everybody uses letters because this channel can be viewed at a half a dozen places on the dial. Maybe at 6.1, maybe at 406, a couple other places. 43.3, and there's a number of places. So numbers really aren't used too much. Everybody's using letters now to identify their content. And so we've suggested VTV for Village Television. It hasn't been approved. I kind of like it. This isn't really the logo if we did pick it, but we think that's an exciting new name that we can market and publish and really identify with our community. Next thing is improved programs. We need to get rid of the programs that people don't like. Very simple. Replace them with high quality, low cost syndicated shows, do some new movies, some produced internally, some outsourced. I think we can add new talent, with much talent in this community and throughout Southern California to increase the quality of the programming. We want to still, and this is very important, support high quality community produced program like you'd see through the Video Club or some of the other groups out there who are doing really good works. We don't want to shut them out. Matter of fact, we want them to do more and bring them in. There's a lot of talent in this community and we need to take advantage of it. I don't think we've done a good job of doing that. We also want to add additional late night programming. I think we tend to go a little dark, maybe after 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and we go to the bulletin board, and it's a little bit stale, you might say. I don't know. Does anybody sit and stare at that late at night? One man, yes. I've tried it once. It's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult. I think we can spice that up quite a bit and have similar sort of community outreach like we have on that, but have it interesting and fun and entertaining, something you can actually watch prior to having a couple of drinks, you know? So we want to do that. And then the community has asked for more first-run movies, and so that's something we think is a great idea. Let's add more movies in there. It is very, very inexpensive to add good quality movies, first run even. It's the bang for the buck is wonderful, and the resident response is very good as well. So we want to do more of that. And then we're suggesting new programming for travel and education, health, fitness, a variety of areas that residents have asked for. So we want to add that as well. So I want to give you a little bit of flavor. We've started doing some of this stuff already. And so we've got a little tiny video we want to show, give you a sense of kind of what we're thinking. There you go. So that's kind of a flavor of some of the things that we've added over the last few months. And we've also been very slowly extracting things that you don't like, such as the infomercials. There's still a few on there, but you'll see less. And the ad insertion commercials, we've taken some of those out too, and we're just trying to make this really more of your community television station. So these are some of the new programs, pretty exciting. Cindy, I'm surprised Cindy's not here tonight. She's pretty much everywhere, but she hosts a wonderful new show that many of you have probably seen, as well as Amy's show, and then the Korean Kitchen as well. Those are new programs we've added to the lineup, as well as just a couple of the movies, first run, that we've added. And then we've got some additional programming that we're thinking about right now that would be something like maybe Hoag Hospital doing a monthly medical or weekly medical show featuring some of the technology available there and some of the practice and physicians. We think that would be very good. Maybe something with a Segerstrom, some entertainment. That would be, we got somebody likes that. And then this is a syndicated show, Yoga Mama. It's very 50-plus sort of yoga show that people really like. And so, and then Creative Cuisine is also a syndicated 30-minute show that focuses on senior culinary arts. And so, in the kind of cooking and eating that people in our age group like to do. So just some of the things we're thinking about outsourcing. Now, we also want to do some things in-house. There'll be a blend. Yeah, some stuff you buy, some stuff you make, kind of like in real life, you know? And so, obviously, we're going to have a lot of events at Clubhouse 5 and the Performing Arts Center. Many of those would be suitable for recording and rebroadcast. We want to share those with the community as well. Obviously, board meetings, that's really about the most popular thing on the channel right now, are board meetings. And so we anticipate showing a lot of that. And you might know that this room is being closed down for 3 months, where we change the lighting, add HD cameras, and really improve the quality of the production that comes out of this room. So I think that's going to be a big benefit to the community as well. We're suggesting a weekly governance show that would recap with a professional host all the activities that the 3 boards are undertaking here in our community every week, so you know what's going on. So we're excited about that. We've suggested a village personality show. There are some outrageous characters in this community. You know, some are heroes, some are movie stars, others have just done some unbelievable entrepreneurial things. And so we want to find them and bring them to the studio and introduce them to the community. And so we're very excited about that. We want to produce a weekly doctor's show that would be hosted and really get into some of the medical issues that our residents are facing. I think like a Dr. Oz, but it'd be our own Dr. Oz. And then we want to do a club. You saw in there where current viewers want less club stuff. And I think it's not because the clubs are bad. I think it's because we haven't produced quality material for the community to enjoy. And so we're suggesting a hosted, produced show featuring clubs and club news and club items. We think that'd be much more enjoyable for the community than what we're currently doing. The other thing, obviously, we need to do, since 70% of our residents don't watch TV6, they don't know that I'm talking to you about fixing it. And so we got to tell them that we're different, we're new, we're exciting, come watch us. And so how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to, obviously, on our other TV channels, we're going to insert our own commercials. And we have some pretty cool ones that we've made. And so you'll start seeing those on the other channels on our cable system. And so that will do it. We've got a cool little TV guide here that we've put together. How many have seen this? And so this will be e-blasted to 15,000 resident email addresses at the first of every month, and will be available in clubhouses and elsewhere. So that will be good. And then we'll likely, this is a ways out, not too far, we'll likely video stream VTV live to our website. So, you know, if you say you're a son or a snowbird, you're only here half the year, you want to watch Village News when you're back in Minnesota or Arizona, you can just go to your desktop there and bring us up, and boom, we've got your channel for you right there. So there's a lot of ways we're going to promote this, and probably have that even available mobile. You're out on the course, you know, game's not going so well, you know, pull up VTV and watch watch your favorite board meeting or other activity right there on the course. So how many are mobile here? iPhone, Android? Yeah, that's what I thought. This is an informed group. You're the kind of group that we want to reach out to and really sell you on Channel 6. So you might have seen some of these ads. The Trading Post ad is really quite good. Has anybody seen that?
That's fantastic.
Not that many. It's pretty funny. It's a great, I hate to say this, but I think the ad's quite a bit better than the show, actually. We need to pump this show up. So we took I got probably 100 comments and questions from the community, and on a number of topics that we'll discuss in a little bit, but mainly, let's bring the quality up on everything, make it a little bit better. And so we're taking that to heart, and I think the community's hit the nail on the head there. You know, I'm suggesting, if you look at our set, it's not good. It really isn't. It looks like somebody went to the old bridge room underneath the pool at Clubhouse 4, said, well, that couch, they got rid of that from Clubhouse 2 before they remodeled it. Let's take it down to the studio. And so we need to stop that. And we need to build a nice, modern set. These are all sort of modular features that are on a panel. Well, they're all replaceable. I could put a fireplace there in about a minute. Those all come out and go in, and so you can really have different sets for different shows and really build some identity for some of this programming we want to create and bring to you. So I think that's a no-brainer. Yeah, I think program scheduling, that was a big comment that we heard, is that, you know, sometimes we don't know what's coming on when. It'll say one thing and we get another. We have to stop that. We have to be reliable all the time. We have to program on the half hour just like everybody else. And so that's what our commitment is to do. I think a lot of times what throws us off is we do a lot of live production. And so sometimes that can be a little unpredictable. And so say a board meeting or something goes extra long, then it kicks your whole schedule off for the rest of the day. And so we have to find ways to manage that better, and then also to edit that down to a reasonable size for rebroadcast so we can not interfere with the rest of the day's schedule. So there's things we can do there. And then I think lastly is really minimal advertising on VTV. We just don't want much advertising there. We have an unbelievable amount of ad insertions that we can do throughout the whole cable network. We can't even use them all, we have so many. And so we don't need to burden you with ads when you want to watch your local community TV station. So you have my commitment there. Revenue opportunity, I think we have huge potential for sponsorships. I think we're going to reach out to quality companies who have relevant products for our community, like Hoag or Saddleback Hospital. You can think of many that make a lot of sense, who have the capacity to produce quality programming that would be of interest to our residents. I think that's very easy to do. It could be sponsored, and it could provide good content that would be enjoyable for our resident. Again, I think we need to update our ad insertion rates. We don't charge enough for people who advertise here. We've got to pump that up a little bit. And part of that is maybe if we advertise a little less, the ones we do advertise can pay a little more because they're having a less compacted market to operate in. And then I think we need to do more outsourcing of some of the things we do. Do some stuff in-house, contract some things out. Maybe some do a little of both at the same time. Maybe take a piece of the action on some of that. And then I think we need to encourage, as I said earlier, high content, high production value materials that are sponsored by folks that we want to be associated with. I think that's very important. And then lastly, better use of staff. I would personally reduce the number of live shows. They're the very cheapest form of production. That's why we do them. They don't cost much. They don't have to be sliced and diced and produced. They just turn the camera on and let people roll. They also typically have the lowest production quality. And so I think we ought to have a blend of some live, some produced and filmed and edited. And then I think we need to outsource more of our personalities. We've found some wonderful, wonderful personalities in the community, our on-air hosts. My preference is to do probably more of that, maybe some professional, some community, some staff, but not really tilted too far one way or the other. And so I think that blend provides more interest in the station than just having all staff all the time. I think it would be better. So that's some of the things we're thinking about. So I think that with these changes, we can really have an interesting, dynamic station that residents will want to watch, they'll be excited to watch. We can engage our community more, get them involved in the things that we're doing, and we can get involved in the things that residents do and want to share with the community. There's so many opportunities. We have a very unique situation here. Let's see, we own the internet company, we own the cable company, we own the TV station. I have all your email addresses and phone numbers. We can reach out to this community in ways that are unbelievable. You should know everything we're doing, and we should know everything you would like us to do. There's no reason with the tools we have. So I'm very excited. I don't know that there's too many places in the country that have the kind of resources that we have to engage the community, and not just a one-way engagement, but both ways. Yes, I know how to find you, but you know how to find me too. So it's a two-way street, and I think we need to take full advantage of this wonderful community asset that we have. And I'm very excited that you came down, and I'm glad to answer your questions and hear what you think about this wonderful community asset that we have.
Thank you very much, Brad. As I said earlier, Brad is experienced now. It's his second year.
Yeah, boy.
He knows a lot.
I'm a 2-year-old.
It is. It's wonderful. He knows a lot more about us than he knew a year ago, I hope. But he's also very interested in engaging us in this ongoing vision. And one of the reasons for today is for all of us to hear what you're interested in, what you want, what your issues are. So this portion is going to be Let's Grill Brad. No, it's really nice. I think I mentioned earlier that the internet, telephone, and you in the audience now have been sending in questions, and they've been written so that I can read them. And Brad is cold answering these questions, which it takes a very, very, very confident and capable leader. So, question number 1. The Southeast Conference, which I understand is sports, for those of us who don't know about it, it's sports. The Southeast Conference is part of our cable package. Why not the Pac-12 and the Big Ten?
Interesting. That's really not a TV6 question, but it's very interesting nonetheless. Sports channels are very tricky and expensive. And so I know you probably think, well, we want the Pac-12, so we'll just call them up or their representative and say, hey, we want to buy that. How much is it? It's not really quite that simple. Our antenna has to be pointed in the right direction. We have to have the proper receiver, and it's a more technical endeavor than that. And then they have to be willing to offer that product to us, maybe on a standalone basis or as a package at a price we can afford. But I can tell you, we had probably 20 or 30 different recommendations for programming that came out of this effort. We want the Dodger channel, we want the NFL channel, we want the Big Ten channel. And so we got a lot of that, a lot of sports, a lot of other things too, not just sports. And so we are investigating all of those and see what makes sense. But some of it is incredibly expensive. And so we have to evaluate what the demand might be versus what the cost is to the community. And so sometimes some of these channels can be $5, and 10, 15 bucks per man or per month. And so we have to evaluate how many of those the community can afford and which ones are the correct ones. And so I look forward to surveying you more to find out what your priorities are. Because I think that's how we find out what people really want. Now, we recently added retirement living. I don't know if anybody watches that, the RL network. Anybody see that? It's a very cool channel that has a lot of senior, active lifestyle programs, and it was a few cents per man or per month, and so it made sense just to add it. But not all of them come at that price, and so we evaluate that very carefully.
Thank you. Why does the screen black out in the middle of a sentence?
Well, I'm assuming you're talking about tiling, and sometimes it can be a reception problem. Most likely, when we investigate these things, the problem is usually in the home. It's the box or it's the connection. If it's everybody at once, then it's probably our satellite. Yeah. Then that's probably if everybody's getting, it's more likely our satellite, which is being replaced.
But why in one room and not the other? I got a TV in each room. Only the living room goes out, the bedroom don't, and they're both on and off.
All right, Ray, you got an answer for that?
Then it is in the home.
In the home. There you go.
If it was happening on all TVs at the same time, then that is in the home.
If it happened, I got it. If it happens on all of it, yeah, all the time, that's what I said, then it's us.
It's only one TV.
Well, that's probably in the house. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, but if you would write it down, because this is being televised live, and if you're asking a question, you're not being mic'd, and people at home won't hear what you're saying, and so if you would just write out a card, it would be very helpful to the whole community.
That is important to note, though. We have ordered the new satellite. We're pouring the foundation and putting the conduit and the electrical to it, and so we will have a brand new satellite that is going to improve reception, I think, pretty dramatically, and reliability on board the next few months. The current satellite will be retained as a backup in case there is some kind of catastrophic problem that happens with the new one. So we don't have any redundancy right now, but we will have in the near future. So I think that's a big improvement for the system.
One of the real issues that TV6 and our whole television and internet has been facing is we're, in the 20th century now? And our equipment is old, our facilities are not maintained and up to date, and so in addition to redoing and relooking at the programming, we're having to build infrastructure. And to the point, internet infrastructure is old and cannot support streaming activity from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. due to the level of activity. Will this be improved and brought up to date?
Yeah, that's a pretty big challenge, particularly as many of you have figured out how to go, as we say, over the top to get the kind of programming you want through Netflix or Hulu or some of these other online vehicles. Requires a lot more bandwidth to support that. Particularly, I mean, if we had 9,000 people, residents here on Hulu at the same time, we would have a bit of a problem. And so getting additional bandwidth is a very high priority. We're actually reviewing the entire cable system, both the cost structure as well as a service provision. It's not what it should be. I agree with that. We're investigating changes, and I'm very confident that we're going to be able to beef that up quite a bit. And I think, though this isn't a promise, lower the costs at the same time. So that's what my goal is, and I think the boards as well, and we're striving to move in that direction.
Okay, excuse me. I asked if you had a comment, please write it down. So Joan, you can give it to Joan. Brad, the next question is, with more and more internet-based programming, do we even need a local TV station?
Well, I think we do. Certainly, I do both. Many people do both. There are those who who just do the over-the-top through Netflix or Hulu. Quite frankly, if you like sports or local news or those sorts of things, you really don't get that way. You really have to get that through your local, cable network or through Dish or some other satellite version. So yes, there's a huge need still, and look at the hundreds of channels that you get and the choices that you can make. They're fairly substantial. They may not be exactly the ones Roberta wants, but we're gonna look at that, and we're gonna ask you what you want, and we're gonna try to make some changes here. This is for you. This is I don't get to watch our cable TV because I'm not allowed to live here, unfortunately, because I would if I could. But
That was my question.
yeah.
Excuse me,
Well, it really wasn't answered.
So anyway, yes, there is a need. There's a need for it to be better. There's a need for it to be responsive to what you want. And that's why we're here, because I want to hear what you want. And we'll be sending out more surveys and things as well, so that you can tell us what you're interested in.
Brad, do you expect a positive revenue stream from VTV? What will this cost the community if we change from what we're currently doing?
Well, I'm hopeful that we can make the improvements, and we've made the improvements we've already made in a very neutral fashion. I think the kinds of quality enhancements that we're talking about aren't necessarily expensive. It's really a matter of just raising the bar and expectations of ourselves and the community. I don't really see this being a big cost item. The way we operate the system now is you have TV6, internet service, and our cable network operate as a system. And some parts of that system make money and some parts lose money, and overall it about breaks even with a tiny bit of help from you folks. And so I don't think we want to change all that too much, but I think there are adjustments that are required, particularly with respect to our internet service.
Thank you. A really good question. How can you tell which programs need to go? And do we keep track of the number of viewers for each program?
Yeah, we don't really take Nielsen's here. I don't know that we have enough subscribers to afford that kind of equipment. Paul? No, Paul says no. But I mean, I think the best way is to ask, just like we did on this survey. Now, it was a blunt instrument, but we received over 2,000 responses, which is, for a community this size, that is a huge response. That's, probably well over 95% degree of confidence. Matter of fact, I think you need 377 responses in a community this size for 95 degrees of confidence. So it's a significant response, and I think we can do that some more and ask you if you like particular programming or not. Some of it is just so awful, you can tell by looking at it, it should go. And we all know what those are. And you've told us what those are. And so I think we can move forward with some of that, but I really do want to inquire of the community more as to what you want to see. Because quite frankly, most of what you would ask us to say procure in the marketplace is very inexpensive. Things that we would produce in-house that are very, say if we did our own sitcom or something, that'd be very expensive. Very expensive. So going out and getting things that you want is pretty easy. Making them is very complex. And so I think there's a mix of those, but mostly procurement with a little production. I think that's the formula we're looking at.
Can we offer pay-per-view?
We do offer pay-per-view, however, it's adult programming right now.
Wow. I don't even know if I want to say that on TV. Apparently our pay-per-view system is mostly adult. So, but we can, I guess, modify that to add additional.
Yes, with the technology that we're bringing forward, yes.
Maybe I should just talk about that because I don't know if it's a question. Later this year, we're adding kind of the whole home DVR system, which will record, 6 different programs simultaneously, has, a box for every unit that you have. It provides the capability for the over-the-top sort of, Netflix and Hulu programming, and really has much more capability in terms of search mode and those sorts of things than we have now. So we're looking at probably the end of this year, beginning of next year, and I know it sounds simple. Well, just give us the box. Well, if it was that easy, I would have already given you the box, I promise. There's other things that have to be done, technologies that have to be deployed at our broadband headquarters, and other things that have to be put in place from a technology perspective to make these devices work on the system that we have. So you can expect a much, much improved device will be available either later this year or at the worst, the beginning of next year, and the board has already approved the acquisition of this technology. And so I think you'll see much, much better service from your cable system.
Like I said, 20th into 21st century.
Yep.
The person who asked the question about pay-per-view also said that we need to repeat the movies more often. And that's simply an observation. What is the mission of TV6?
Well, I think the mission really is to inform, engage, and to entertain our residents. Nothing more than that. And I think if we can meet those 3 objectives, I think we'll be doing better than most community TV stations that I'm aware of.
When will internet streaming capability be upgraded?
Well, I mean, we have the capability now. Again, there's some variables there, and we are working to enhance that service. I know we're meeting with the service provider here in the next week or so, and it's an ongoing dialogue. We have a community that's getting younger. You're just not using internet for email anymore. I mean, you have 3 smartphones, and you're streaming video, and you have many devices in your manners, and so the service we provided 5 years ago just doesn't cut it. I don't even know why we offer 5 megabyte service. I don't know who would use that other than my mom, who only emails. She lives in Guadalajara. That's how we communicate. But nowadays, everyone, including apparently most of the people in this room, want robust internet service that has streaming capabilities, and you should have it. No question. No question, and we're working to deliver that to you. You have my commitment on that. I can't give you a date. We have an internet provider that does a lot of that. We're in some discussions with them, but I think it is very likely that we'll be coming to a resolution here in the near future on how to get you the kind of service that you deserve.
Brad, 3 content questions. How about art classes like history, art, literature, poetry, psychology? Can they be purchased and aired on TV6?
No, absolutely, and I think, and that's something I missed. It was on my list and I didn't read it. That was another one that the community identified was, education. And so I think there are some wonderful, wonderful programs that we can acquire in educational areas covering an array of topics, from history to politics to science. I mean, there's just a number of things, arts and literature. I mean, there's so many things that we can get, and there's so many wonderful educational institutes in California who have this kind of produced material that's very high quality and very easy to acquire. So, yeah, I think there's a great opportunity there.
I'd like to suggest a show called What's Happening This Week in the Village, and the purpose would be to highlight and promote shows that are available to us in the village.
That's interesting, and I think I like that idea. I know we're looking at a second community news show as well, and so we've identified a potential host, and we're looking at topical matters, more like maybe a 60 minutes sort of format, maybe a little longer segment, a little more in-depth coverage of really important things that are going on in the community. So there's a number of programming ideas that have come out. That's an interesting one as well. And if you have them, if you have some ideas, maybe, and many of you, have a couple of residences, you go back and forth across the country and see some things maybe that we don't see here. If you'd love to share that with us, we would like to learn from you as well. I hear many things about, well, I have this kind of a cable TV system back in Wisconsin, and why don't we have that here? And they give you the details of that. We need that information, so if there's something that you have seen that you really like, that you think we should investigate, please let us know. Be glad to do that.
If expensive sports channels are added to the lineup, what will the cost be for those of us who are not interested?
Yikes. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question. Well, I mean, in order to have a full cable network, cable system, I mean, we have sports, we have the specialty news shows, you have the local news, there's a variety of things that kind of fill it out. Sports is part of that, and a great number of our residents expect that they're going to have ESPN and Fox Sports West and a number of these others that are pretty commonplace on virtually every cable company that you would contract with, whether it be Xfinity or Comcast or Charter or Cox. They're all going to have a basic package there. And I think we provide that, and some of that programming is pretty expensive. There are some that are so expensive that we have just shied away, and they're limited too. Maybe it's only one or two specialty sports programs like the Lakers. Expensive. There are ones like that. What we're looking at now, and they don't like to do it, but we're talking about it, is maybe offering that as an add-on that an individual homeowner could decide to opt into. They don't always allow us to do that. Yeah. I think that I like that concept the best, but many of these programs are not available in that fashion. But I know we're investigating it. We actually discussed this today.
This is a comment about how we communicate. Retirement Living is a new channel that you just put on air, but how do you let us know it's there? How do you communicate new additions or subtractions?
Now, that one, I think we e-blasted out. Yes, Heather says we did. So we sent that to 14,000 email accounts in the village saying, hey, we just added this channel. And that's what we'll do anytime we add a channel. Or if we add an interesting program to TV6, you'll get an e-blast on Friday saying, hey, we just added this program. Check it out. It's on Tuesday at 7 on VTV. So yes, we'll let everyone know what's going on. We really want to communicate with you in a very clear way, in a direct way, and have you communicate back with us similarly. We're also adding a very robust website that's probably, I don't know, April or May, really to really let it out. And it's going to have a lot of good information on virtually everything we're doing here at the village on your behalf. So we're really excited about making that available as well.
If you don't have a box, there are stations you can no longer get. Religious stations, business, stocks, and investment news. Why?
Yikes. Well, over time, you will lose those analog stations bit by bit. They take up a lot of bandwidth, and in order to add a lot of better internet service or to add other things, we have to eliminate analog channels. That's how we get room in the pipe to get you more bandwidth for internet and other things. So ultimately, you're going to have to get rid of the tube TV. It has to go. You have to get a digital TV because those analog channels are using too much bandwidth for other things we need to do. So that's where we're at. and get a box. Get a digital TV, get a box. It's a great value, and it's going to be an even better value at the end of the year with the whole home. But the analog TVs have got to go. There'll become a day, and I'm just telling everybody right now, it's not very far off, that we're just going to tell you we can't support analog TVs anymore. They're taking too much bandwidth. And Cox and Charter and everybody else has already said that. We don't put it on our system. We won't support it because it takes too much bandwidth and they need it for other things. So that's where we're at. And I hate to say that because I know there are people out there that like their old, analog TV. I used to have a house in Big Bear, and I had a 42-inch analog TV. I think it weighed about 600 pounds. And when I sold the house, I left it there. I needed like 5 people to help me get it out. So I just left it there. The lady was glad to have it. It was a big, giant TV, and she couldn't move it either. So there you have it. The analog TV's got to go if you want the rest of the system to work properly.
Okay, programming suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay, programming suggestion. How about a Jeopardy-type TV show originated in the village with modest prizes? Would that be too hard to make?
Those are the kinds of things that are a little bit expensive. I know we did a dating game takeoff that did anybody see that? Yeah. It was very cute and well done. Paul, was that easy to make? Took a year. There you go. It's just a lot of work, a lot of production time, a lot of film time. It's a lot of coordination. There's a reason that these very successful shows, charge $1 million for a 30-second commercial. It's because it's very expensive to make those things, and to even get your money back is a challenge.
I was going to volunteer to write the Jeopardy questions.
There you go.
There's no cost. How much of an increase in price would it be for the advanced box?
I don't know that we've priced that out yet, have we? No, we haven't priced it out. I suspect it won't be anything near what you would pay somewhere else. I mean, our cable system, despite it has a few freckles and warts, I get it, it's a great value. It is a wonderful value. We just need to smooth out a few of the problem areas, add this whole home DVR, and maybe adjust our programming here and there to be more responsive to resident requests, and I think we'll have it. I think you'll have a very inexpensive, high-quality system that you can be very proud of and will keep you very well informed and entertained.
Why can't TV6 post an expanded list of their programming on the website?
We certainly can.
Why can't TV6 post an expanded list of their programming on the website?
Yeah, I think this is going to be on the website, if it isn't already, and we're also going to email it to your home, at least to the 14,000 email addresses that we have. And then, of course, it's always available here or at clubhouses as well. So, yes, we have that, and we'll make it available to you in a number of different ways. And actually, I think with the new whole home DVR, you probably won't really need this sort of thing. It's searchable and has a lot of interesting features that make it easier to find stuff.
Okay. With the upgrade of TV6, can broadband be upgraded? Those who subscribe to HBO, Showtime, etc. are shortchanged because we cannot get the, quote, Go channels. Why can't we be more like Cox?
Do you understand that? Come up here then. That one, you got me on that. I've been checkmated right there. There you go.
Hi, I'm Ray Esperon, and I am the Broadband Services Supervisor. And so as technology has pushed us forth through to internet over-the-top viewing and all of those things, analog television does have to come off the system to give us more bandwidth to get all of those products. Technology has to be improved in the head-end facility to be able to get those authentication processes in order for a website to be able to authenticate your subscribership. And that's what we're working toward with the technology upgrades that we're doing.
There you go. Let's hear it for Ray.
Ray, before you leave, can you help with a time frame for that? So I understand that there's now a tie-in with broadband and with television and the internet, right?
Right.
And we don't offer that right now.
The actual applications do need to be authenticated through the website. We do not have an interactive website, and with the technology that we're bringing forward, that's going to be coming on. So by 2018, or hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be able to push that forward.
So our new website, which is due in April, is not an interactive website.
It may be interactive with other features of the community, but it isn't integrating broadband with it. The broadband system works differently than our website. We do have to upgrade the broadband software, which I'm looking into as well, so that all of those pieces can work together.
And that would be the end of this year or early next year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I hope those of you who understand that know what you said.
No, it's a major, major upgrade over what we have now. We're really operating on probably 15-year-old technology right now. And so we need to get rid of the analog, upgrade our head-end facilities, and then give you the box and the kind of service that you expect, and that you probably get or see at your friend's house who don't live in the village. And that's what we need to do, and that's what we're doing.
What are the plans going forward to keep up with the streaming and other advancements?
Again, most of that relates to our broadband capability, our internet service levels, and we're just going to have to pump that way up. I mean, the math is actually pretty simple. We've got 9,000 plus internet users, and if they're using, 5 megabytes, there's a certain amount of volume you need. If they're using 50, you need 10 times that much. So the upgrading of our basic internet infrastructure is critical, because more and more residents want to, have multiple devices, multiple phones. They want to stream on their TV. That takes a lot of capacity that, quite frankly, we don't have right now, and we don't even offer. And so that's got to change, and it's a big challenge that we're going to have to address, because all of our residents want that now.
I think at the last media meeting, someone said, I don't know what's wrong with my television, and we found out that she had 15 devices that use the internet, but she wasn't even aware of. And I started counting mine, and I'm not that.
Well, there's another piece of this too that I have to share, is that, quite frankly, most of the time when we get, I don't mean most of the time, I mean like 95 or more % of the time, when we get complaints about internet service in someone's manor and we go out and check it, has nothing to do with our bandwidth. It has to do with a 10-year-old router that was originally hooked up to a 386 that now is supporting, 3 laptops and 2 iPhones and trying to, stream over the TV. So we have to replace our routers and our in-house infrastructure occasionally. I'm talking, I've got a 10-year-old router in my house, but you have to upgrade that stuff. It wasn't meant to support what we do now. And so,
Okay, in order to add or delete closed captioning, it is necessary to turn off the cable box, click menu, scroll down, change the closed caption option, click the cable box off, then back on. When I used to live elsewhere, closed captioning could be changed with a simple click on the remote. Why is this so complicated here?
I think we'll call Ray up for that. Well, you also have to tip your heels together 3 times too, but that's different.
Well, the cable boxes, the guide works off of a Rovi guide, and what we need is a software upgrade, which I am also looking at to upgrade the software. There's been a transition with Rovi and TiVo. They've purchased the guide company, and so with that software upgrade, you should be able to get that capability.
And the time frame, Ray?
I'm looking into it at this time, so maybe a few months.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Boy, I'm glad she's here.
Will the new DVR boxes allow us to use one box for TVs in all rooms? This is the.
Yes, yeah, well, you're going to have a master, and then you have the subservient boxes in the other rooms. Yes.
And the time frame on that?
Again, that's the end of the year or beginning of next year. The board's approved resources for the acquisition of those boxes, so we're moving ahead. I think it's more the tech piece at the head end that is the driving force behind that.
Okay, I want to point out this question is so internet savvy. If we delete Media 55, which I don't think you delete a company, but we're so internet savvy. If we delete Media 55, who would pay for TV6? Would this raise our assessments?
That's a good question. Probably. Media 55 really generates revenue that mostly offsets the cost of TV6, maybe even a little more than that. I talked about the 3 business centers. We make money on internet. We probably break even on TV6 with Media 55, maybe make a little bit of money, and then the cable company loses a little bit of money. So that's kind of how the 3 fit together. We treat them as one. Some residents don't like that, and they want us to sort of treat them as 3 different business units, and we can do that. And I don't think it'll change the cost to residents. It'll just be more transparent so you can see what's going on with each business unit. And that's fine. We're happy to do that, because there's no secret here. You know, some assets perform better than others, just like your assets, and some of it has to do with just the way we've structured it over the years, and some of it will be restructured. But I don't think it really is an assessment-driven approach. I think it's just the way things have evolved over the years.
These are 2 programming notes. I don't see a need to spend precious resources on buying movies and other programming for TV6. There are so many other channels that provide movies, etc. Save TV6 for meetings, local events, clubs, speakers, and local news.
Well, I appreciate that sentiment, but it is not consistent with what residents have told us when we asked. That, I think, movies was either the number 1 or number 2 response that we got. We like our board meetings, we like movies, we want these other things. There's no reason why VTV or TV6 can't provide all that. Movies are not an expensive programming option. They're actually quite economical. And so compared to anything we could produce, they are very economical.
Why not have Channel 6 be a non-commercial channel and then create another local channel to be commercial with ads from local vendors?
You know, we talked about something like that. I agree. I think we should have VTV or TV6 more or less commercial free, and really the only commercial activity that I really support is sponsored content. You know, and I've used the example of Hoag earlier, produces a nice show on their new imaging center, and they want to show us how it works and how you can access it and have interviews with physicians, and I think that's great. That's great. But just to have, you know, the local, you know, mortuary or varicose vein or muffler shop advertising on TV6, I don't like that too much. I don't think you do either. I've been told you don't like it, and I believe it. So I think that's where we're headed.
Why does the picture suddenly turn into a puzzle?
That's tiling. Again, that is, I think, mostly our thing or a box thing.
It can be at times, yes.
Okay.
Ray, why don't we get her a microphone?
With analog TV, interference manifested itself as in snow or a double image picture and stuff like that back in the day. And so with digital television, usually when there's interference, the audio would go first or it'll tile. Exactly. And so it could be any number of things. It could be wiring issues in the home. It could be the box itself. It could be coming from the network. It could be a receiver at our facility. So it's any number of things.
No, write it down. Okay. I sometimes get snow or bad picture. What are we doing to improve that?
Yeah, that's probably an analog TV there. That's an analog
Snow is
TV,
analog,
and
but
we're
I-
probably not doing much for that.
Well, I was actually trying to lead into the antenna, Brad. What are we doing to improve picture quality?
Yeah, again, I think the biggest thing, obviously, we're upgrading our technology at the head end, but also the new dish is going to be a big, big improvement.
And the current dish is how old?
Over 15 years old.
And what is its normal life?
Actually, it's over 20 years old and the life expectancy is 15.
So we're 5 years over its
20
life.
years old and its normal life is 15. So,
No, the community got its value out of that dish. And it's still going to serve our community in a backup capacity for years to come. So good value on that.
okay, you've made responsible changes. Why not consider this part one, give it a few more months with all the possible advertising about part one, then go into part two?
Well, I think what we've tried to do is just take some very simple steps that we think everybody would generally agree with. You know, adding some nice first-run movies, taking it digital, you know, doing just incrementally improving the quality. And I think it would be my preference to keep proceeding in that way and to continue to get feedback from the community. And so we know that the changes we're making are well received. And so far, I really haven't gotten a single negative comment about the things that we've changed. They've all been very, very positive. There's been more comments about things that folks want changed or choices they want to be able to make in the future. I think those are the kinds of input that I've received.
The second part of the question was, after completing phase one, then resurvey and see what people are thinking about the changes that have been made.
No, I think that's good, and I now that I can see the depth of interest in our cable system, I think probably a survey relating to that might be the next most logical step, so we can hear more directly about, you know, what we're not offering that you'd like to have, what we are offering that you think ought to be removed and maybe exchanged for something more productive, other sorts of things that you would like to see, because we really didn't ask those questions in the first survey. We were really just talking about TV6. We didn't talk about the cable network. I would say, I know there's as much interest in the internet, but the problems there are so obvious, and the solutions as well. We know what needs to be done, we just have to do it.
Right.
I think with cable, it's trickier because you're dealing with all these individual tastes for different types of programs. With internet, people just want more bandwidth. They're very clear. They're not asking for anything special, just give us more capacity. So I think cable TV is really maybe the next big survey we do. I think it would be exciting.
This person is a person after my own heart. What's the difference between broadband and West Coast internet?
Well, broadband really relates to the department that manages a lot of these assets for the community. West Coast Internet is a vendor of the broadband department that manages majority of the pieces of our internet service. So again, they're kind of one and the same in a way. They're essentially a contracted vendor. No, it's an independent vendor.
Okay, this is I pay $38.50 for middle internet service. New viewers are getting 1,000 megs for $30 a month.
I can only assume, since I saw that question, I went on the internet and looked at all the specials that all the other companies are offering. That's probably not accurate. I think what you can get is a special that offers, say, 50 megs for a price that is comparable to what we charge for a lesser amount, but that expires in a year. So I think all these specials are out there. You can look at them. I don't think there's any question that there, I don't know of anyone, certainly in California, maybe anywhere, who's paying less than what you're paying. It's a pretty, now that said, the internet service is not as robust as you need, and so we're going to fix that. But I think the pricing is very, very good, and the community can be very happy with that. Would I like to make it a little cheaper for y'all? Yep, I would, and I'm going to try to do that. But it's still priced very, very fair.
Will the new hosts be paid and cost the residents more in their assessments?
Very interesting. It might. Again, I think it'll be, we have several that are volunteers that are very good. I know I talked about Cindy Whitney, who hosts a couple of shows for us. We have some others that volunteer. There may be some that are paid. Believe it or not, Ken's paid. He's on our payroll. He's an employee. So Paul does a show now and then. He's paid. So we currently have paid hosts, and we have volunteer hosts. We have guest hosts. So we'll continue to use a broad range of different hosts, and there may be a time when it makes sense to pay a quality host for a particular type of program, and the boards will make that decision. But I don't think overall that's going to be a big assessment issue. Again, a lot of that is offset by revenue from Media 55, and so that overall TV6 does pretty good.
Okay, Ray, you better get back up here. Why does tiling take so long to fix?
I can answer that one. Because they don't know where the problem's at. Is it in the box? Is it in the line? Is it in the head end, or is it at the broadcaster? And so to track all that down and search it. I have one channel at my house that's been tiling for a year. And I love that channel. And it's just driving me nuts. So I get it. I'm with you.
Okay, I pay for 30 megabytes, what is it, how do you say?
Megabytes.
Megabytes, internet. But in the time frame, 8 to 10 p.m., I get between 3 to 6 megabytes. Will I get a rebate on my fee?
Probably not. Probably not. Well, you can measure what you're getting. Typically, every time I've done it, I get more than what I thought I was getting. So I'm interested to hear this. I'd like that person to contact me directly if they would, and I'd be glad to send somebody out to take a peek. But usually, when these calls come in and we go out and measure, and it could be when we're measuring too, they're getting more capacity than what they're paying for. That is the usual response that we see.
That lady said she didn't understand. I don't. How are which shows on our cable system selected? Who selects the shows that are in our, I think she means who selects
The
the
channels.
networks that were, yes.
Yeah, and again, a lot of that, I mean, it's a staff-driven function. We work with Media and Communications. I think there's sort of a platform of kind of standard channels. You just don't have a cable system unless you have those in there. I mean, if we didn't have CNN and Fox, how many of you would be excited about that? You wouldn't. You'd go, what the heck? And so, I mean, and they know that too. Do you think they're giving you a discount? ESPN, I mean, I go through the list of them. They know who they are and if you have to have them to have a reputable system. And if you want them, they charge more. If you're kind of not so enthusiastic about them, they charge much less. And so it's a portfolio of products that staff and the boards determine are appropriate for our community. Do we hit everything? No. I mean, if we got everything that everybody wanted, you'd need about another $50 per man or per month. That get us everything we need? Yeah. Yeah, we can get Lakers, we can get Dodgers, we can get all kinds of good stuff. And so that's why we try to kind of assess what's popular, what are kind of mandatory must-haves, and what's so cheap you can't afford not to take it, you know? And so, I mean, there are, and one of the details of it, we are still in negotiations on some of these things, but you might pay, you know, $1 million for a handful of channels, and then you might pay $1 million for 300 channels. And so it is a very competitive, negotiated arrangement, and we belong to a multi-company cooperative that negotiates the majority of these arrangements on our behalf. And then there's a few of them we negotiate ourselves. So it's very competitive, and those who have something that you have to have, know you have to have it, and they price it accordingly, just like everybody else.
We advertise that our cable system is included in our assessments. Will this change with the increased improvements in our system?
Well, I think we've reserved for most of the big improvements like the antenna and some of this bigger equipment. So I think the basic service that you've come to enjoy as part of your assessment will continue that way. Some of these other add-ons, for example, if we are able to get some of this desired programming on a added cost basis per individual manor, obviously that will cost that individual manor more. Or if you want to go with the whole home DVR system, that's going to cost a little bit more. But I think overall, the basic system will remain free, and it'll be a great value and even a better value as we improve the service and hopefully the programming as well.
So the answer is no.
No.
Good.
I
Thank
guess I
you.
could have just said no.
No.
I like my answer better.
Okay, this is, I think, a communications issue. The person wants to know, can we have a regular listing or schedule of maintenance and landscaping services so residents know?
Oh, God, that's really good. I love that question.
You do?
I do. We just implemented a number of different ways to communicate with you, and a lot of that was made possible, believe it or not, by the RFID process. How many have their RFIDs? Their little funny sticker on the front of the car. Well, when you came through, we made you answer a bunch of questions, like what's your email address and what's your landline, your cell phone, all that sort of stuff. And so we put all that information in our system. And so shortly after that, maybe some of you got a phone call from us on our robocall saying, well, there's a fire or there's a lost man in the village. Remember that? Yeah. Well, that information we collected as part of your RFID was used to establish that database so we could reach out. Well, in that case, with the lost man, we reached out to the entire community because we didn't know where he was at, and we were looking for him and thought maybe you could help, and you did, and I thank you for it. But that can also be used down to like the cul-de-sac or the building level. So for example, if we're coming out on Monday and we're going to dig up your cul-de-sac and replace the sewer line, I can send you all on Friday a nice little phone call that says, we're coming out on Monday to dig up your cul-de-sac. You know, watch out for workers, and you might have to park somewhere else, and all that sort of thing. So we have many ways to reach out very directly to you. We haven't really utilized that, and we'd probably more not do phone calls. The phone calls are really expensive. But when we call the whole village, there's the price tag. If we send you an email and a text, it's free.
Woo!
It's free. So we're more likely to email and text you on these sorts of things just because the phone is so expensive. But we can do that, and actually as part of our new communications plan, which hasn't been approved yet, and it hasn't been presented yet, that will lay out ways to communicate with residents about these sorts of things that are happening in your own neighborhood. We do great. If we're having a Christmas party at Clubhouse 5, boy, we'll blast it out to you 10 times, put ads on the TV, you know about it. If we're gonna, rip your driveway up, we may not call you. And so that's what we have to fix is, let's get it down to the cul-de-sac level. We'll let you know what's going on in your own neighborhood. That is really the board's highest priority right now in communication. They're fine with how we share information about community-wide stuff, but it's what's happening to you that we need to do a better job with. So I'm very excited about that. That's a good question.
Can you use Skype in the future to inform us? Skype.
I guess I could. I doubt it. I think
I actually think it was a compliment to your presentation skills.
maybe. I think probably I really like the emails and the text, but folks have to get used to going to their computer and smartphone for information like that. And that's. And I think I said who had smartphones in here, and just about everybody raised their hand. Now, just because you have a smartphone doesn't mean you're watching your messaging very closely either.
Right.
So that's the other thing. Just because you have a smartphone, you still have to click that little button on the upper left usually that says messaging to read your, turn on. So it's very important because we're going to be reaching out more and more that way to you. Very exciting.
I think that the more we communicate with residents via smartphones, et cetera, the more we'll see people converting because you want to know. And it's an excellent way. I know the fire was something that really made me frightened at one point. The fire in Laguna Beach when the whole Gate 14 was covered in smoke and we didn't know what was going on. And
I think that was the first time we used Code Red, and we sent out a little recorded message to everyone. And we've always had a reverse 911 system, but it took like 3 days to call every manor.
Right.
By then, the fire was probably out and everybody was safe. The new system that we have will call everybody in about 15 minutes. So it's a much quicker, that's the entire village. I mean, boom, it'll call everybody and it'll send a text, voicemail, and phone call to everybody within 15 minutes. So that's a very powerful tool, but it's very expensive when you use the phone piece. That's why we like the text and email.
Okay, this is an observation. One of our residents uses Time Warner for internet, and he pays $30 a month, or she, and always has 100 megabytes and often above 200. I think pardon me?
Yeah, no, that's probably off-site, yes.
But I think the question was, or the statement was $30 a month.
Yeah. Well, as I said earlier, that's a service we want to upgrade and make better for you, and we're committed to do it. I don't think there's any question about it.
Okay.
Now, come on, Gail.
With your increase.
Are you doing commissions at 4% now, too? There, you heard it right there.
With your increase of internet speed, are we going to get 50, 100, or 300 megabytes?
Yeah, that'd be a hard question to answer right now. We'd like to have as much as we can possibly get for our residents. So I would think over the long haul, given what people are doing now, 50 is kind of a minimum. That's my view, but that's a longer approach.
I've requested that our cable system provide access to online TV apps like Fox, Disney, and others. When signing on to these apps on an account with cable or satellite system is required. My understanding from GRF, Media and Communications Committee, is that this has been under review for over a year now. Can you address when TV Everywhere will be made available? We really want it.
Yeah, that will be available at the end of the year or the beginning of next as part of our whole upgrade of the system.
I have a question from me.
There is a bit of a cost to that we need to talk about.
Does it mean that if you had TV Everywhere, you could actually have access to programs that are not carried on our networks?
I don't know that it
is what
means
this
that. I
question
think
is
what it
saying?
means is you can get what we have everywhere, like on your smartphone, sitting at the doctor's office, or back in Minnesota, or wherever you might be.
So it's like Granicus for television?
It's granite, yeah, there you go. You got it.
Okay.
All right, we got 5 more minutes here, and then we're,
Well, then I want to ask you, I want to give you the last 2 questions. Thank you for your attention and participation. If this process generated new questions on your part, please email them to the general manager or call him personally, because he really likes this.
I
But you
do.
know, issues came up and we couldn't really take questions from the audience, but if there are new questions that have come up, please send them to us via email, and Brad's will deal with them in his usual thorough way.
and I'll be glad to stick around afterwards to talk to any residents that have questions, maybe of a more personal nature, and Ray's here, and we have, you know, a lot of our staff here that can help.
And then actually, this is for people in the television audience also, because we understand you haven't been able to ask questions as this goes along. So email Brad Hudson at brad.hudson@vmsinc.org if you have questions that were generated by this. And then this is such a wonderful thing. Someone said, take pride in what has been accomplished. And we really have come a long way this year, and I hope a lot of us realize that. But
Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure to serve you over the last year, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you. Thanks.